At first glance, an arowana might look like just another large aquarium fish. It has scales, fins, a mouth, and a habit of swimming around in a tank. But then you discover that some arowanas can cost hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. So what makes a fish so expensive? Is it because they are difficult to breed? Is it their rarity, their appearance? Or is there something more going on behind the price tag? Today, we're diving into the world of one of the most expensive ornamental fish on Earth right here on History of Simple Things. Arowanas are ancient freshwater fish belonging to the family Osteoglossidae. They are sometimes called dragonfish, and once you see one swimming, it's easy to understand why. Their long bodies, metallic scales, large mouths, and two whisker-like barbels on the lower jaw give them a distinctive appearance. They are also surprisingly athletic predators. Arowanas can leap out of the water to catch insects, small animals, and even birds or other prey near the surface. But not all arowanas are equally expensive. Several species exist around the world, including the silver arowana from South America, the Australian arowana, and the Asian arowana, which is particularly famous in the ornamental fish trade. And this is where the story gets interesting. The Asian arowana, native to parts of Southeast Asia, is considered the prized species among collectors. Different populations can have different colors and characteristics. Some develop deep red coloration, while others may appear golden, greenish, or silver. And unlike buying a common aquarium fish, purchasing a highly prized arowana can feel more like buying a luxury item. Collectors may pay close attention to the fish's color, body shape, scale arrangement, swimming behavior, fins, and even the symmetry of its features. In other words, with expensive arowanas, you're not simply paying for a fish, you're paying for a particular example of that fish. One of the biggest reasons Asian arowanas became expensive is their scarcity. Wild Asian arowana populations were heavily affected by habitat loss and collection for the ornamental fish trade. As conservation concerns grew, international regulations were introduced. The species was listed under CITES, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. International commercial trade in wild-caught Asian arowanas became heavily restricted. That changed the market dramatically. Instead of freely collecting wild fish, legitimate trade increasingly depended on captive-bred specimens from approved sources. And when something becomes difficult to legally obtain, while demand remains high, its value can rise. Here's another important piece of the puzzle. Arowanas aren't exactly the goldfish of the aquarium world. They are large predators, require substantial space, and have specific environmental needs. More importantly, breeding them successfully can take considerable time and expertise, and arowanas have an unusual reproductive strategy. The male takes on much of the responsibility for protecting the offspring. After spawning, the male can hold the eggs in his mouth. This is called mouth brooding. That means a breeder can't simply collect thousands of eggs and raise them in separate tanks like some other ornamental fish. The process requires careful management, and because each breeding cycle produces a limited number of young fish compared with species that release huge quantities of eggs, supply can be relatively constrained. That doesn't automatically make every arowana expensive, but it helps explain why high-quality specimens aren't produced like mass-market aquarium fish. This is where selective breeding enters the picture. Imagine two puppies from the same breed. One might have features that make it particularly desirable to breeders or show enthusiasts. A similar principle exists in ornamental fish. Collectors may prefer particular traits in an arowana, such as intense coloration, well-defined scales, a desirable body shape, strong fins, or balanced proportions. Young fish may not immediately display their full adult coloration. As they mature, their appearance can change considerably. A breeder or collector may therefore spend years raising a fish before discovering exactly how impressive it will eventually become. And when a mature fish develops exceptional characteristics, its value can increase dramatically. Among Asian arowanas, red varieties have developed a particularly strong reputation. Their intense coloration can make them extremely desirable to collectors. But here's something important. Not every fish that is sold as red will eventually become a spectacular deep red adult. Color development depends on genetics, age, environment, and other factors. This uncertainty can actually contribute to the appeal. Collectors may spend significant amounts of money on young fish with promising genetics, hoping they will develop into exceptional adults. It's a little like buying a young racehorse based partly on its bloodline and potential. You're not just buying what it is, you're buying what it might become. There is another reason arowanas became so valuable, and it has little to do with biology. In several East and Southeast Asian cultures, the arowana has been associated with prosperity, strength, good fortune, and protection. Its resemblance to the mythical Chinese dragon helped reinforce that symbolism. The fish's large scales, whisker-like barbels, and powerful swimming style made it an especially fitting symbol. For some owners, an arowana isn't merely decoration. It's considered a status symbol, and in some cultural contexts, a fish associated with luck and wealth. There's also another part of the price people sometimes overlook. Arowanas grow large. That means keeping one isn't simply a matter of buying an expensive fish and putting it into a small aquarium. They need a suitably large, secure enclosure, filtration, good water quality, appropriate food, and careful maintenance. The fish itself may be the most expensive part of the purchase, but maintaining a large predator over many years can also become a significant commitment. So why are arowanas so expensive? It's not because they possess some magical ingredient that makes them worth a fortune. Their value comes from several factors working together: rarity, conservation regulations, difficult breeding, selective genetics, distinctive coloration, cultural symbolism, collector demand, and the limited supply of exceptional specimens. And perhaps the most fascinating thing about the arowana is that its price tells us something about humans as much as it tells us about fish. We don't always value things according to what they can do. Sometimes we value them because they're rare, because they're beautiful, because they're difficult to obtain, because they carry cultural meaning, or simply because other people are willing to pay a lot to own one. The arowana just happens to combine all of those qualities into one very impressive fish. And that is how an animal swimming peacefully inside an aquarium can end up carrying a price tag that looks more like a luxury car than a pet. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.